Today, we're looking into one of Canada's most baffling and tragic unsolved murders. It has all the elements of a thriller. You've got a mysterious client, a perfect crime, but at its heart is the very real story of a young woman whose life was stolen, and a family that is still, to this day, desperate for answers. So picture this, February 2nd, 2008. A promising young real estate agent is brutally murdered while she's showing a vacant home. Now, get this. Her killers were actually seen, but they somehow vanished without a trace, leaving behind a crime scene so clean, so pristine, that it has stumped investigators for well over a decade. So where does a story like this even begin? Well, it starts with something incredibly ordinary. A phone call. The kind a real estate agent gets every single day. Except this call was different. This was the call that would lure Lindsay Buziak to her death. First, let's talk about Lindsay herself. She was only 24 years old, and she was already making a real name for herself in Victoria's competitive real estate market. Her friends and family described her as super ambitious, really caring, just a popular, vibrant young woman with her whole future ahead of her. Okay, so in late January of 2008, Lindsay gets this call. It's from a woman, and she sounds urgent. She says she and her husband need to find $1 million home, and they need to find it fast. But the thing that was really unsettling, the thing that gave Lindsay a weird feeling, was the caller's accent. It just sounded strange, maybe even fake. And right away, the red flags just start popping up. For one, the caller used Lindsay's personal cell number, not her office line, which immediately put her on edge. She told her father and she told her boyfriend, Jason Zylo, that the whole thing just felt off. Her gut was telling her something wasn't right. So you can see Lindsay's in this tough spot, right? Her instincts are screaming that something is wrong, but $1 million sale, the commission on that would be huge for a young agent. Her boyfriend, Jason, kind of pushed her to take the meeting, and he even offered to wait right outside the house just to make sure she was safe. And that little bit of reassurance, it was just enough for her to agree to go. So the meeting is on. It's set for Saturday, February 2nd. Lindsay finds the perfect place. A vacant $1 million property on this quiet little cul-de-sac called D'Souza Place. She arranges to meet the clients there at 5:30 in the evening. Okay, this timeline is absolutely critical. At 4:24 p.m., Lindsay and Jason finish up a late lunch. At 5:30, Lindsay pulls up to the house and is seen greeting the clients. Just 10 minutes later, Jason arrives and parks outside, just like he promised. He sends Lindsay a text, but there's no reply. As the minutes start ticking by, that feeling of unease starts turning into real concern. So who were these clients? Well, witnesses actually saw them arrive on foot. It was a tall man with dark hair and a blonde woman, probably 35 to 45 years old, wearing this very distinct, patterned dress. The witnesses said that Lindsay shook their hands really formally, professionally, which suggests she'd never laid eyes on them before in her life. This is the only description the police have ever had of the killers. Jason finds the front door locked, so he calls a colleague who was nearby, and they find an open patio door around the back of the house. They go in, and Jason runs upstairs. And that's where he finds Lindsay, in the master bedroom. She had been stabbed repeatedly. The autopsy later revealed she had no defensive wounds at all, which tells investigators she was almost certainly attacked from behind, completely taken by surprise. Right away, it was clear to everyone on the scene that this wasn't a robbery gone wrong or some random act of violence. No, this murder was meticulously planned and then executed with just terrifying precision. And that brings us to the central question that has haunted this case from the very beginning. With witnesses nearby and with her boyfriend parked literally right outside, how on earth did two killers just disappear? The crime scene was, well, it was basically sterile. I mean, think about it. No foreign DNA, no fingerprints, absolutely nothing. Lindsay's wallet and her phone were still there, so this wasn't a robbery. It wasn't a crime of passion. This was a targeted execution carried out by killers who knew exactly what they were doing and how to leave nothing behind. The level of premeditation here is just staggering. Police traced the burner phone that was used to call Lindsay. It was bought months earlier, way over in Vancouver. It was activated with a totally fake name, and cell tower data shows it traveled to Victoria the day before the murder, was used only to call Lindsay, and then, poof, it was shut off for good right after she was killed. This was a throwaway phone for a throwaway identity for a one-time use murder plot. So how did they get away? Police think it all came down to a matter of seconds. As Jason Zylo's car was pulling up at the front of the house, the killers were likely on their way out. They just slipped through that back patio door, cut across the yard, and disappeared onto a nearby road, completely avoiding him. So for years, the case goes cold, but it never, ever goes quiet. A whole bunch of bizarre events, strange connections, and even haunting messages have kept this mystery alive. So you've got two main theories here, and they kind of pull in opposite directions. On one hand, the planning just screams professional hit. Police even looked into a massive drug bust that an ex-boyfriend's friend was involved in, wondering if maybe Lindsay was targeted as a potential informant. But they eventually dismissed that. See, the actual killing itself, a frantic, violent stabbing, felt too personal, almost too amateurish for a professional. And because of that, investigators leaned towards the idea that this whole thing was planned by someone who actually knew Lindsay. And this is where the case just gets weirder. In 2008, one of Lindsay's friends gets a bizarre late-night phone call from a woman with that same strange accent. The number was traced back to Jason Zylo's mother, who said it must have been a pocket dial. Then, years later, in 2020, sealed documents revealed the killers used a second burner phone. And then in 2021, police announced they had new leads, all thanks to advanced DNA technology. So this case is far from over. And then, in 2017, maybe the most chilling development of all happens. A comment gets posted to a website dedicated to Lindsay's murder. It says, "I killed Lindsay, and stupid cops will never prove it." And notice, they even spelled her name wrong. Was this the killer, taunting everyone? Or just some cruel, twisted hoax? We don't know for sure, but it's a terrifying glimpse into the mind of someone involved. It's now been more than 18 years for Lindsay's family, especially her father, Jeff, who has worked tirelessly to keep her case in the public eye. It's been an absolute eternity to wait for justice. Which brings us right back to that fundamental, haunting question. Who was the couple that walked up that quiet cul-de-sac, posed as homebuyers, and committed a near-perfect murder? They walked into Lindsay Buziak's life for just a few minutes, and then they walked out and just vanished, seemingly forever.